Hello all. So, in this video, I turn back to the UN Human Rights Council, which have once again decided that they need to spend their time and effort and, well, money on Israel and not on any other country on Earth. This time, they've compiled and issued a list of 112 companies that operate in the West Bank or have sold franchise rights to companies in the West Bank, in specifically Israeli settlements in the West Bank. I mean, now the UN Human Rights Council says that these companies have, quote, raised particular human rights questions, end quote. So I took a look at the list, a quick look, not a very deep, detailed look at every company on it and what they do, whatever. Just a very quick skim through it, and one in particular really stood out for me. Now, if someone else read it, I'm sure something else would stand out to someone else, but to me, the one company that really stood out for me, TripAdvisor. Somehow, I find it very hard to believe that TripAdvisor is raising particular human rights concerns just by doing business in Israeli settlements in the West Bank. So I find that very difficult to believe. If you know different, please let me know. I'm always willing to be proved wrong. Now, a lot of people in Israel are referring to this as a blacklist, as in this is supposed to damage these companies and so it would be used by people to prevent them from doing business in Israel and the West Bank. Now, I'm not sure I'd call it a blacklist, me personally. I can tell you I'm very upset by all this. I'm not upset that the Human Rights Council has problems with Israel or Israeli settlements in the West Bank. I don't see any problem with it. As far as I know, there is no international law that actually prevents Israel us from doing that. Again, I could be wrong. If you know better, please let me know. And I believe that. I'm very sure about that. But it's an issue, and different people have different positions on issues. I have no particular problem with any particular group or organization having a different position from me. What upsets me though is that the UN Human Rights Council has spent their time and effort and money doing this and not issuing a list, for example, of companies that use slave labor in China, which I think is definitely a particular human rights concern. I think that is definitely something that more people should talk about than. It's the hypocrisy. It's the hypocrisy of these people in this organization going after Israel and not after other countries, other groups of people who are objectively evil, who do objectively worse things than even the worst accusations of Israel could ever be. Now, I do have certain suspicions about why the UN Human Rights Council spends so much time on Israel. I believe I talked about them in earlier videos talking about the Human Rights Council. Basically, I'm pretty sure that a whole lot of dictatorships out there are using Israel as a scapegoat to keep the Human Rights Council and people who are concerned about human rights in general focused on Israel and not on all these dictatorships out there. But that is a conspiracy theory. I'm quite clear about that. That is a conspiracy theory. I have no actual evidence I have no evidence to back that up. But anyway, so Human Rights Council, brilliant, absolutely brilliant job they're doing. Completely ignoring some things, focusing so much on Israel, letting things slide because of Israel. Israel. We're not that big a deal. Really. The country's smaller than New Jersey. Who cares what happens in New Jersey? Even when I lived in New Jersey, I didn't care what happened in New Jersey. But I digress. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I really hope that the UN pulls their head out of their ass and actually focuses on more important things in Israel, because we're not that big a deal, really. Honestly, we're not. And I hope you have a good night. And like, share, comment, subscribe, whatever. Have a good day.